Hi everyone, this is Karen Baran with Solar Academy. I am here today with Blair Reynolds of Dynapower, and Blair has a great story in solar, and he has been in every corner of solar that the common people would know about in our industry. His and Today we're going to talk about some really important issues that concern the grid and the stability of the grid. But before we get into that, we'll talk a little bit about Blair's background, Dynapower as a company, and then we're going to dive into the major problem of frequency regulation or inertia, rotating mass, and some important topics like that. So, Blair, welcome. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Karen.
Right. So let's start with your background. Tell us as far back as you want to go, high school, college, after. So like how did you end up in solar? I see on LinkedIn you have a physics undergrad degree,
Sure.
and I see that you worked in one of the oldest San Diego installers. I'm based in San Diego, Sullivan Solar Power.
Yeah.
Like what drove all those jumps? And I am are you and you are in North Carolina right now.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
and so are you a born and raised North Carolina person, ended up in San Diego? Tell us, yeah,
Yeah,
how.
born and raised in North Carolina, or at least that's what I tell people. I,
Mhm.
I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, up in the mountains, and
Nice.
yeah, a lovely place to live. It's very different now than when I grew up there. Of course, it's been very much discovered by tourism. I went to undergraduate college down in Charlotte, Charlotte
Yeah.
area, a little school called Davidson. I
Yeah.
was recruited there to go play football and had a great career there. Just before the Steph Curry era,
Yeah.
if you're keeping track of sports, he really helped put the school on the map. But yeah, tiny school.
Yeah.
And I chose the least popular major there. Like literally, I was a physics major, and at a school of 1,600 students. And so my senior year in our graduating class, there were three of us with in the physics program. So
Wow.
yeah, in fact, there was a time in my senior year where there was just one other student and I enrolled in a semester long course, right? So a lot of personal attention, I would say. But yeah, doing that program and being a full time athlete, which is essentially a full time job
Yeah.
plus some, I would say, was quite an experience. And yeah, definitely put me on a path which sort of led me into the career that I'm in now, which of course renewable energy and large scale battery storage. You mentioned San Diego. Yeah, it's a very special
Yeah.
place to me as well. That's not only where I met my wife. I lived out there for at least up and down the West Coast, but primarily in San Diego for about 6 or 7 years. And that's where I found the solar industry. And this
Yeah.
was in the mid
2000s.
2000s, 2007, I think is when I first got my first job. But I actually attended a Solar Power International up in 2006. So that was up in San Jose, and I've been attending every
Wow.
one ever since. But yeah, that was right, around this transition that was happening, particularly in places like Southern California, where we were seeing an uptake in more energy efficiency and renewable generation and home solar. Right. I mean, that was SDG&E was doing quite a bit at the time to incentivize homeowners to go solar, including with the California Solar Incentive Program (CSI). And yeah, so it was a really great time to get into the industry. My first job was selling to homeowners over a kitchen table, probably like
Yeah.
many of us.
Yeah.
But I quickly learned other aspects of the business, including the sort of technical side, including the design of systems and how to actually get permits through approval, learning the National Electric Code, learning sort of the practical electrical side of the business that you don't learn at college or university.
Yeah.
And was yeah, I knew
And
right
then,
away I found my career. That was
yeah.
obvious.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. And that took you to a graduate degree in Australia, studying.
Yeah, yeah. I was working in the industry for a couple of years. In fact, at the time, I got picked up by Sharp Electronics, who was, you might remember,
Yeah.
one of the original
Early.
manufacturers of solar modules in the U.S.
Yeah.
I was working for them as an applications engineer, and had an opportunity to um, to put that on hold and go back to school and pursue a master's degree specifically in photovoltaic engineering. That was with a program in Australia, University of New South Wales, made very famous by Professor Martin Green, who was sort of the pioneer of high efficiency silicon solar cell design. In fact, I really think can be credited for the PERC technology that we have so much, gigawatts deployed around the world. He had in fact set the world record. His lab did back in 1995 for single junction crystalline silicon efficiency at 25% on a single cell in 1995. And in fact, it wasn't until I think 2012, 2013 when that record was actually beaten. And it was beaten by SunPower, believe it or not. So I did a master's program down under, had a wonderful time, was working throughout that experience, learned the Australian codes and standards. And yeah, if you haven't been there, you should go. It's far away,
Yeah.
I get it, but it is absolutely a wonderful place. And I was just, yeah, exposed to, um, gosh, at the time, large deployments of residential solar. I mean, it was every third house in the
Yeah.
cities there, the metropolitan areas had a small, 1.5 kilowatt PV array on the roof, and that was primarily driven by the not only the economics but also a rebate program that had a cap on it. So like
Yeah.
eight modules on every roof. It was great. Um, and so yeah,
It's,
it was a fun time. I went back to work for Sharp after I graduated that program, and was sort of kind of right there until the very end when they decided to pull out of the U.S. market, and did a little stint over at a German company called Solar World, also very
mhm.
well known
Yeah.
for U.S. manufacturing of solar.
Yeah,
Uh,
we sold quite a bit of Solar World panels back in the day at my old company, Civic Solar.
yeah, and isn't it so funny to see that whole trend come back around full cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, full
Mhm.
circle, and yeah. So, but really, what I was doing was just it was DC, right? The
Yeah.
DC side, which eventually led me to batteries. I mean, there's not a lot different in terms of the basic principles of current, amps, voltage, short circuits,
Mhm.
fusing designs, all this kind of stuff on a PV system versus an energy storage system, battery side. So I got into that business around 2013, 2014 with a company that was trying to compete with basically the Tesla
Yeah.
Powerwall, making a residential home battery system. And
Yeah.
this was really before the lithium stuff really took off in a big
Yeah.
way. So I kind of got in on the forefront of that and learned a lot of the technical aspects and practical aspects too. Like, what does it actually take to get a battery system designed, installed, permitted, and approved by the utility?
Yeah.
And Yeah, it was a cool time. I transitioned over to Enphase, believe it or not. I was there,
Yeah.
um, and I helped them launch their AC battery. It's
Yeah.
gone on to be a very successful product line. The Gen 1 battery, I'm not sure if you remember, it was a grid following product only, right? So it was not doing backup power. It was
Right.
really a time based charging and discharging schedule that
Yeah.
worked really well in markets that had basically been built up around feed and tariff models, where you basically get paid for all your generation. And
Yeah.
over time, those feed and tariff markets, the value for that generation started to get ratcheted down significantly. And so in those markets, there was definitely an incentivization to install a home battery system and basically store your excess solar, store your solar, and then use it yourself in the evening time. And so
Yeah.
that battery was really the right technical solution for those markets, which coincidentally Australia was one of our biggest markets.
Wow. I
Uh,
don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
I've
And
since
then,
been working in
yeah.
the inverter side of the business after doing the batteries and the stint at Enphase, and that's really where I got exposed to Dynapower in my current position. I was actually a customer of Dynapower's for several years with a global solar and energy storage inverter manufacturer called SMA. I started off on the residential side of their product management division, and then moved over to the utility scale, large scale storage side of the
Mhm.
business. And there at SMA, I was the global product manager for their DC coupled product strategy, as well as the global manager for the grid forming technologies, which sort of leads us into the discussion here. But it was in that role that I found Dynapower. I was interfacing with them almost on a weekly basis. We were white labeling one of the products that's been very successful for Dynapower, the DC to DC converter product, and really got to know the folks there well, and was fortunate to have an opportunity to come and join them and lead their renewable sales division. So in my current title, I'm the director of the renewable division for Dynapower, primarily responsible for front of the meter solutions like large scale DC to DC converters and energy storage inverters. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, thank you for that background.
Sure.
You definitely have wealth of experience that I would love to do many more conversations with you, diving into different forks of that path.
Yeah, thanks, Kareem.
Yeah, hopefully in the future.